The last lesson is an anti-war story. So it is a story which you have to read or study from the perspective of war when two countries are at war with each other. Then what is important to note is that the country does not only invade your property or take away your land, but sometimes it also takes away your culture. So there is cultural invasion. And here the main protagonist, uh, France, France, the boy realizes that he will be losing his language. Now, language is something which we always feel is a part of our identity. So, when Franz realizes that he is going to lose his identity or his language, that is when it hits him. Before that, he was quite okay with the ongoings of the war. So what the author Alphonse Daudet is trying to say here, the French author, is that when a war or a battle takes place, then it has a deep rooted impact on so many people at so many levels. So Franz here finds out that he had taken his language for granted. But one day, suddenly, out of the blue, he realizes that he cannot use or he cannot study his own language anymore. That is when the reality hits him hard. The story also has this human appeal from the humanity point of view, that a person who has been teaching for several years, for 3 to 4 decades in a particular school, that person suddenly not only loses his job but also the right to teach. So this right that we have over our language or over our culture, that is something which has been snatched or wrested by the foreigners. The same thing happened in India also when the British conquered India, and when they set up their colony. Then what we found is that our own language was being taken away from us. Our culture with that gradually transformed, and from Sanskrit, uh, different schools cropped up, uh, which became English medium schools. So now, when we are studying in English medium schools, they are basically an extension of what the British did to us. So here in the story, the Germans, when they invaded the cities of Alsace and Lorraine, then the order came that French will no longer be taught in the schools, and German will be inflicted on them. So it is quite damaging to one's mind and heart. And therefore, the story basically ends in a very poignant moment when the teacher, being a teacher, he remains dignified. He does not express his emotions, he remains dignified, and he simply dismisses the class. And the only thing he could express is Vive la France, which means long live France. So there is a hint of patriotism in the story as well, and how it affects common people. When we talk of war, we talk of how it affects the soldiers, but the story says how it affects the common people, even a small teenage boy. Okay, that is why the name of the story is quite fitting, The Last Lesson, because it is not only the last French lesson for the boy and for the school, but it is also probably the last lesson in something which has always belonged to them, in their native language and culture. Okay.